Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, we'll be completing the remaining part of our previous series. So I think we have completed till the booking part. In this video, we'll be moving to the next part, and which is adding the payment API. And after that, we'll be making the notifications schema as well as the schemas for the conversations and the messages, and as well as we'll be making the APIs for the conversation and getting the messages. Okay, so let me just show you that what we left in the previous video. So in the previous video, we have had made this route, which is the add booking. So in this video we'll be making the routes for the adding the payments. So let me just show you that our database. So let me just go to the tab of the bookings. So this is our table for the bookings. If you have seen my previous video, then you will be able to see that how we used to hit the API and we were getting the data stored in our table. So this is the postman collection, and this is the route, which is API booking / add, and these are the data which we were passing in the request body. And when I'm hitting this, I'm getting could not send the request, and the reason is that the server is not on. So what we are going to do, let's run the server. First of all, just clear it, just run npm run dev. So it's gonna start your nodemon, and it is running on the port 3000. So let's just make another route, and the next route is this payment. So let me just tell you what's gonna happen. So instead of this add, I'm just going to have here payment. So because it is a post route, so anyway it is going to be a post API. So payment we are going to do for the controller. So let's just add this payment over here, and let me just add the validation for it as well. So as you know that the validation we added for the booking, so I have already added the validation for the payment. If you have seen here in the payment part, I take the booking ID and I take the payment method. In this case I have the cash as well as we have the card, and we can anyways increase this, like in India we have the UPI, so you can add that as well for the phone pay, Google Pay. In US there will be different payment method. In let's say in any other country there will be other payment methods. So as per your requirement, you can just add this into your validation part. And the payment date, it should be in the is ISO 8601. So this format should be matched, as well as the payment date must be in this format. So let me add the validation, add payment validation, as well as let me just add the controller for that. So let me just go to the controllers file. If you see, we have already add booking. I'm just going to copy this and paste it over here. So let me just add booking payment, because it is related to the booking, so I'm giving a prefix of booking. So we don't need to do this make this object. So let me just make the data as a request.body, and the success response should be payment successful. Okay, so this is how we should write the message for it. So there is one part which is missing, and that is the service. So to write the service for the payments, you just have to write the service, add booking payment, and just write the service like this, and just make the async function. Over here you just have to return a statement. I'm going to copy this and paste it so we don't waste our lot of time. Instead of booking, we need to add the payment in our Prisma, and over here let me just write those things. Const will be getting the booking ID, will be getting payment method, booking status, payment date, amount, Okay, we will all be getting this data from the data. So let me just write this: booking ID, payment method, we'll be getting payment date, in a new date, payment date, and the booking status, as well as the amount. Okay, but let me show you the schema for it, and we don't have the schema yet. So let's just make the schema for that. So I think I already have the schema for the payments, but I'll just write it for you guys. So it is the model, and just write payments. Actually it should be payments. Okay, let me just write it down like this: ID. You can even write a payment because it is a singular. Okay, because it's a payment table and there's gonna be multiple payments, so there will be multiple rows of payment, because we are not writing like bookings, we are not writing okay, you understood, we have not written bookings, we have just written a booking. Okay, so let me just write ID. It's gonna be a type. Let me just copy and paste it. I need the ID, and after that I need the booking ID. Okay, let me just write this: booking ID, and it's gonna be type of string, and it will be default to UUID, as well as payment method, and it's going to be a type of payment method. Let me just show you what it is. It is basically, we have already written card, cash, UPI, wallet, net banking, but as of now we are just going to accept card and cash. So let's just write down payment like booking status, and booking status will be booking status, and let me just show you what it is. So it is basically some statuses. It is reserve, confirmed, cancelled, completed, no show. And let me just write other things like payment date. It's gonna be a date time, as well as the amount, and it's gonna be a float type. We are already taking the total price in the booking, but let's just say sometimes what happens is that we are going to give an option as a partial payment, so user can pay partial payment and make that booking confirmed, and half payment user can pay at the time of the taking the car. So this total price belongs to the price of the car which you are going to pick for number of days. And let's just say the payment, if you pick an option like is partial, so you can pay the payment partially, depends on the vendor customizations. So we also have the created at, so when it is going to be created, payment will never update. Okay, but it's gonna be a fail or passed, never going to be have that updated options. In the bookings we have the updated status, sometimes we have this status to be changed, but in the payment we are not going to give that option. So let's just keep it like this, and let's run the server. Let's just see that have we added at the controller. We need to add here add booking payment from the controllers. Server should run properly. Now that we have added the service as well as the controller, so we should be start. Okay, so there is one change, that instead of add booking service, we're gonna add booking payment service. And then let's just try this on our Postman. So this is our API, booking slash payments. So let me just do one thing, just copy this, duplicate, and let me just rename this add payment. Okay, and let me just add this, instead of add, it's gonna be the payment body, and authorization as we need it. So I'm just gonna hit the login API, we get the token out of that, and just go to the add and just hover over here, send the API. So it's gonna ask you some details about the valid booking ID is required. So for that, when we add the booking, if you see, so they are also asking the token. So just hover over here and send the request again. So we get the booking ID over here. It's for booking ad, and we are getting the ID of booking over here. So go to the add payments, and instead of car ID we're gonna add the booking ID. Let's just reverse this, and let's just hit this. So payment method and the payment date is required. So I'm just gonna copy this and cut this, and payment method I'm gonna add payment. So here the payment method, I'm gonna write the cash option, and let me just say over here payment date, and just hit the enter. So now it is saying that the amount is missing. So let me see that we have the amount, so we are not passing that amount. So while the time of validation we have not added that amount thing. So if you see, I'm just gonna copy this, how much amount, so it's gonna be the amount. Okay, so it should show you that validation thing of amount. So I'm going to add amount in a float, that I'm going to pay everything at the store of the car. So yeah, it's showing that invalid payment method. Okay, so it is expected is payment method, and okay, let me just see. So payment method we are passing. I'll go to the schema, and over here we have card, cash. Okay, so it should be in a capital case. So if I see, it should have to be in capital case. Okay, so those are the enums that we have written. Just go to the postman, hit the button. Now it should show you that it should be a cash. Okay, now hit the API, and then payment is successful. Okay, one thing here is that the user ID is null. Let me just see it. It should not show the user ID as a null. Let me see. So when we are creating the payment, we are returning the let me just go to the schema first. Okay, so this is the ID we are getting, and let me see. In the payments table, if I just go into the database table, we don't have reference for the user in the payments. If you see clearly, we have the ID for the payments, we have ID for the bookings, we don't have a reference. Okay, we have the user ID in this column. Actually we have that. Let me just see it. So that is the reason they gave us the user ID as a null. So let me just go to the VS Code and see. We have not added the user ID in this payments. So what we'll do, we'll just run the command npm run prisma, and let me just generate it. Okay, npm run prisma, just hit this command. Okay, so there are some changes that added required column booking status to the payment table without default value. There are one row in this table. It is not possible to execute this step. Added required column booking status to the payment table without default value. Okay, let me just add default value. A booking status, let's just say no show. For the Let me just run this now. Yeah, now it is like migrated. It should show like the migration in the table. Let me just go and see the payments table again. Go to the view. Yeah, now the user ID is not showing over here. Let me just show you what it did basically. So we did not have user ID over here, so we had that user ID in this table, and to remove that I run the prisma this command, prisma npm prisma, and afterwards I run the migrate command, so it migrated all the things. So if you see in the migrations, it has done some changes. So if I go to the postman and I send this, so updated at does not exist in your current database. Okay, we are not getting, like, it's showing that updated at error. Let me just go and see if add booking is working. Yeah, add booking is working fine, but only created at exists and no updated at exists at this point. So let me just go to the postman and see invocation, the column updated at does not exist in the current database. So I am not even passing this updated at. Okay, we are having only created at. Okay, do they require updated at? Let me just run this again. Okay, so they also required the default value because they cannot run null. We already have one row in that. So now if you see, let me just rename this. Instead of cars, just let me add this as a data, and here as well it is cars, so let me just rename it to the data. And yeah, instead of data, let me just do it response, because we are already getting the response. So let me just say res, let's just name it res underscore and res underscore, because the data is already here. So let me just add res underscore. Okay, so I have tested this now and it is working perfectly fine, that we are not getting the user ID in the return statement, as well as the payment is getting confirmed. Okay, so it is also linked to the booking ID, a particular booking ID. If you go to the PG admin and just go to the payments, go and see view, then you can see that booking ID and ID. Okay, so okay, over here we are passing the booking status as a no show, payment method as a cash, and the default value is no show. So in the postman, when we are making the request, so let me just go and like add booking status. So whatever the booking status we get from booking, okay, we need to pass that. So what I will do, just wait, we'll take the booking status. If you see, we should be having booking status over here, so I'm just going to pass it over here. Okay, so this is what we required for doing the payment, so it should show that. So I'm going to add the booking status, and let's say it's pending in this case. Okay, just enter this. So okay, it is expecting something else, so let me just go and open this side by side and go to the here. Okay, so let me just go to the schema first, and over here booking status I accept this. Okay, so here we have reserved, confirmed, cancelled. So instead of here I'm just going to add a reserved. So if you see, we need to add this reserved, confirmed, cancelled, completed, pending, no show, and no show. Okay, so I'm just going to pass the reserved as a status. So let's just see. Yeah, so payment is successful with the status as a reserved. So this is how you are completing, you are able to like complete the booking via the payment API. So let's just say we have the online payment method, let's say Stripe in this case. So when we are going to and getting the redirection and making the payment as a successful, so that after that thing we can call the payment API. Okay, and we can make status change for the payment API. So this is how you keep the record for the payments, and after this we'll be making the conversations part. So what I'll do, I'll just write the model for the conversations. So here I'll just write conversations. So CONVER, okay, conversation. So it will basically having the ID, and after that we have created at, updated at. Updated at will be at the rate updated at. Okay, and here let me just save this messages. Okay, I'll just write the messages, as well as we have the sender ID in the type of string, sender, user, receive as a string, as a user. Okay, let's just write messages, a model for messages. Over here we have ID as a default, updated at, created at, and then we have here status, let's say message string, and then updated at. Okay, we already have that updated at and this. Okay, so let's just write read at date time, it's going to be optional, and message type, it's going to be the enum, basically is important if it is important. And then we have the message method. Message method will be sender ID will be a string, sender will be a type of user, and then we have receiver is going to be the user who sends the message, it's also a type of user. Conversation ID will be string, it will be conversation, and relation will be fields of conversation ID, and the references will be only ID. And after that we have the car, it's going to be the optional, then car ID string optional. And let me just save this, and for the user part let me just copy this thing and let me just paste it over here. So if you go to the user part, so here it's actually a sender. So what I'll just do, let me just remove this. So I'm going to keep a name as a receiver messages, and the fields for this will be receiver ID, and references will be only ID. Same goes for the sender ID, like this is for the sender. So let me just write it for the, okay, so my bad, this should be in front of receiver, and this should be like in front of sender. So here I'm just writing user messages. Okay, so instead of send receiver, here it should be actually sender ID. Okay, and there is one more part which is this is important. Default value for that's going to be false. Okay, and let me just see the status. Okay, we have not written the status first. Let me just write. So basically a status is a message status, and the default for that, default will be sent. Okay, like this, and created at, updated at will be as it is. So we need to write some enums like message status and message method. So we should write those like on top of our schema. So if you see, we are writing over here. So I'm just going to be copy these things and just paste it and change the message to the message status. Okay, and just copy this again, 1 and 2. So this is going to be for message type, this is going to be for message method. Okay, so message status will be enum in the form of capital case. Let me just write sent and delivered, read, no, it should be only read, and then failed. Okay, message type should be sent, it should be received, system error, okay. So this is the message type, and message method could be a text, could be image, could be video, and default a system. So these are the enums we needed to write. Okay, and the one more part which is remaining, so that is for the conversations. If you see that it is showing one error like this, user ID, what it is. So let's fix that. So sender, if you see, we have the sender relation. Okay, so it should be user conversation. So let me just fix this. In the conversation part, it should be user conversations, and fields will be sender ID. Okay, it should be sender ID. Okay, and now it should be reference to ID. Let me just copy this for receiver as well. Okay, so receiver conversation it should be. Okay, and over here let me just add receiver ID. Okay, and let's just remove these two things. So I think it is now done. Okay, and over here it is giving some issues. It is automatically like making it like over here it is automatically, if I just remove this two, it's automatically just giving those things. So what I will do here, I have given this keywords over here like names, so I can add this in the user. If you see, so I'll just write, instead of conversations, just write user conversation. If you see, just copy this and paste it over here. user conversations will be conversation, and the relation for it should be user conversations. So just copy it 4 times. Okay, copy it 4 times, and now change the name as, okay, you can just give it a camel case. And over here for the second thing, sender or seller, whoever is the selling, so that is the seller. You can also write the sender conversation. Okay, and like here you can change it to, if you go, have you seen that receiver, we have receiver and user. Okay, so we have 2 scenarios, sender is a user and receiver is a receiver. Okay, so if you go on the above upper side, the user is a user, so sender is also user. Okay, so that is why I have kept it like this. So if you see, we have receiver conversation, receiver. Okay, so one thing, let me just clarify this, receiver and user message. So one is user for user conversation, another one is seller. Let me just keep this sender. Okay, sender conversation, so let me just add user conversation for sender. And if you see, we have messages remaining. Okay, that is why they have given this. So conversation 1 is done for the user. Receiver conversation, instead of this conversations keyword, just use messages. One is for receiver message, and here just write messages, cut this, and over here write user messages. So user messages and receiver messages, so relation will be user messages, receiver messages, user messages, and the one is receiver messages. Okay, so if one is user conversation, so the one who is going to send, and another one receiver conversation and user. Actually it should be, actually sender is the one who is sending, and if you see what I have done, sender is a user and receiver, so it is actually a sender, user and receiver. Okay, so let me just write the receiver for receiver actually. So one is user and another one is sender. So now it is now working fine. Okay, so if you see the conversations, we have the ID. One, we have the sender. So sender is going to be, let's say I have phone A, receiver has the phone B. So in my perspective, I am also a receiver. Okay, but in my perspective, the other person is receiver. If you just visualize it, I am also a receiver, I am also a sender, but I am sender. If you are asking like from my perspective, so I am a sender, but a receiver is someone else. Okay, but from someone else's perspective, they are a sender and receiver is me. So in this case, the sender is string and the relation is user conversation, so it is actually my user. Okay, so it is me, and in my perspective, so it is receiver. It's going to conflict, but if you just look it from one POV, you're going to have a good picture. You can give a different like names like user A, user B, that is also fine. You can always define 2 people are talking, so user A and user B is always fine, and then you can have an idea that who is the active user in your device by just like giving a key that if the ID of the senders and the ID of the user is getting matched, so that is the you who is sending the message. So vice versa, you can do that. But to understand it from the person who is writing the code, sender is always, you will get a click that sender is you, receiver is also you, but from your point of view receiver is someone else. So for the same goes for the message, so sender is you, receiver is someone else. So if you see, the relation is user conversation, receiver conversation, and the receiver messages, user message. Let me just arrange this so you can understand. So receiver messages or user messages. Let me just run the Prisma now. npm run migrate. Okay, Prisma, npm run :migrate. Yeah, so we should be having the tables now. Let me just minimize this and go to the, refresh this basically. Yeah, we have the 11 now. Let me just see messages. Yeah, we have the messages. Let me just see the conversations now. Yeah, we also have the conversations. So let me just give you a brief overview, like how it's going to proceed. We are going to proceed over this. So see, what is the basically conversations? If you have seen my UI in the app, we have the lot of messages screen. Let's say I am talking to the 10 sellers. So when I go to that particular screen, I get to see the last text. Okay, let me open the UI. Okay, so you can properly understand it. Let me go to the Figma. Okay, so here is the car rental application. So it is opening. Let me explain you a bit by bit so you can understand it properly. So if you have seen, we have this particular screen. This is what I'm talking about. So the moment I come onto this screen, I should call one API, and that API should bring me the messages, and that API is this conversations. So getting all the conversation in one place, that is how this works. Okay, so when I hit the conversations API, so I'm going to get the messages array, and that messages is this Hila, let's say this Cameron, David, Richard, Michelle and Anna. So it's going to bring 1 2 3 let's say 6 messages, as well as the last 2 convos in that one message, and I'm going to get the array of 6. So I can show that over here, as well as I am going to add just assume it's going to bring the messages, all the messages for all the people that I have talked in this conversations array. But I'll add the condition that while calling the conversations API, do not bring messages more than 6 convos, because in the conversation we don't require history of message. The moment, let's just say I click on this Cameron, okay, or let's just say I just click on this Hila. So when I click on Hila, now I get to see the messages. So I'll show the messages which I got in this API over here, or either I can call immediately the messages API, which I'm anyway going to call it, but the pagination will happen inversely. If I scroll up, the pagination will get called and I'll get the messages, okay, like this. So this is how we are going to build the logic. So if you go to the routes, then you should see the route. Let's just make a route for message.route.js, and okay, so we are also going to make one API for sending an actual message, and we are going to make it live. So we are going to integrate a socket.io. Let me just go to the any random route and just copy this and paste it. And now over here, let's just write our logic. So it's gonna be API / conversations. It's gonna be actually router dot get. It's because it's getting the get API. We don't need authentication, it's already handled in the authentication route, but yeah, we do need the validation. So let's just write the, yeah, we don't require actually validation because it's get API. So it's going to be the post, like getting the API, getting all the conversations. So go to the controllers and just write the controller for message controller. Okay, just copy and paste it, remove everything, just keep the necessary things. Okay, conversations, and we are going to make the user ID, because that's how we are going to query on our table actually. Okay, over here I'm going to write one service, and let's just give the name to that particular service, message service. If you see, we do not have anything here. message.service.js. okay, and let's just write the service. What I'll do, I'll just copy any service and just paste it over here. So let me just remove the unnecessary code, and let's just write get all conversations service basically. Okay, so it's going to be conversations, and it should be prisma dot conversation and find many. Okay, we need to use this method, and inside here we need to query using the user ID. Okay, we are writing the get API, right? Okay, you should know it. We have not made any API for sending a message. We'll do it afterwards. So let me just write the conversation for this. So what I'll do, I'll just add the where clause here, and let's just write or, because see, it's going to be both ways. Sender is also a user, as well as the receiver is also user ID, a user ID. Okay, let me just write user ID. Yeah, so it's going to check for the sender in our conversations. Okay, for the user ID, it's going to bring all the like messages, conversations, like it's going to bring the conversation for the particular user ID which we are sending. So over here let's just write include right here messages, and over here let's just order by, we need descending order. Okay, and over here let's just, I just need one row, the last message. I'm just going to write the select what things we need. We need a message text true, we need read at true, we need a message type true, we need updated at true, we need is important true, we need sender ID. Okay, let me just see, actually do we have sender ID? Sender ID. Okay, where do we have this? Okay, I think we messed our schema. npm run prisma run migrate. Yeah, now it is updated, so it should be actually sender ID. Okay, true, it should be receiver ID true, and underneath of this we should have order ID, order by, it should be updated at descending. Okay, and the logic goes here, we are not going to return the conversations, we need to update like conversations. What I will do, let's just remove this and just write map to the conversations. and we'll add one logic to filter out like based on the sent and the delivered received type. So I'll just use map method, and we should get conversation only one. And over here let's just write messages, only single message, age, and conversation of messages. If you see, we should get messages conversation, we should see the messages. So for the first index I'm going to write let message type, it should be empty. Just write if message dot sender id is equal to user id. If the sender id is me, so message dot message type should be actually sent, because we need to mark that that highlighter. So we are going to use it like this, else if. So if we get the receiver id, if that is the user, then I'm just going to mark as a received. And now in this we are going to return this conversation messages in the form of array, and over there just destructure message and as well as message type, and then just return this. Okay, like this. But as we do not have any kind of messages, you are not be able to see this data. So let's just try calling the API first. Go to the postman, copy, duplicate, see the authorization is there or not. Okay, it's not there. Let me just copy, give a name, get conversation, hit enter, and we do not require to send a body, and it should be like, it should be actually conversation. Yeah, cannot get conversations. Okay, pay booking conversations. Okay, we should get it in the body. Actually cannot get booking conversations. API booking. Okay, we are not using actually it. So if you see in the index, we are not consuming it actually. So if you see, we need to add it first in our index in order this to be in a working state. So location is already there. I'm just going to add messages. We need to add a route. Message route from message route. Okay, just copy and paste. Yeah, still it's not showing. Okay, because we have not added the messages. It should be messages and then conversations. Messages is good, conversations. Okay, let me just go. It should be API. Okay, it should not be booking actually. API messages, then message route. API messages, then conversations. $404, like Actually it should work. We have the get API to getting all the cars, conversations to get the conversations, and review routes. Wow. So this should not be the case in the conversations. Like we should have that controller. If you see, let's close this and come to the message controller, and this is what I was talking about. Get message service, the service we need to use over here. Get all conversation service, service, and get all conversations, and then pass the user ID over here, and copy this, remove the unnecessary imports, go over here, conversation CTION from the controller actually, and now it should show you the error that message route message controller it's not able to find. So just press the .js extension. Yeah, it's running now. Just hit the API. Yeah, okay, now we have got another error. Sender ID include updated at, do you mean sender ID? Okay, if you have seen, we have got this error, sendee ID after the, where we have added this. Okay, sender ID, if you see, okay, because we have updated sendee ID to sender ID. That was our mistake. Now it is showing that user scalar relation filter or user where input provided string. It's showing that an invalid Prisma conversation find many invocation where the sender ID, receiver ID, message read at true, invalid value provided, expected user scalar relation filter or user where input provided a string. Okay, while the getting, over here, sender ID, receiver ID. Now if you see that earlier I had here receiver, instead of I should have over here receiver ID, so that I can pass the user ID, and now I can easily fetch the the conversations properly. So there is one mistake, like instead of reviews, these are not reviews basically because we copied. Okay, so it should be conversations or just make it a res. So it should be res underscore, and I'm just going to like call fetched conversations successfully. So this is how we are basically able to fetch it properly. So we need to write the another API that's gonna make the conversations happen. So let's just add the route for that, and the route will be post. So just bring this down, change the route to this like post. It should be actually send and then validation message. So let me just write this into the validation part. So because we are sending one message, so there is some important things that we need to remember. So let's add memi ssscg dot validation dot js, copy any validation for the location, paste it over here, just write validation, validate message. Okay, and I need some of the things. I need message text, should not be an empty, and this message text is required. Okay, The next thing which I require, that it should be a string or number, doesn't matter. The next thing is message type. I require this from the user, okay, and it should be with message and is in the form of the array, sent or received or system or info. Let's just keep this only. Message method should be text, image, video, system. Okay, system should be here as well. Yeah, and the next thing we required is the conversation ID. Okay, it's optional basically, and it should be UUID with message, session ID, yeah. So the return statement will be in the form of array, and this is what we require for validating our message in the API level. Validate message. Next thing which we require is to make the service or the controller, I think. So let's just make that. So it will be a send message, not actually a service but a controller. So get all instead of get, I'm just gonna make send message, a simple send message. So it should be a user, so request body dot 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 request dot body and the sender ID. Actually in this case it's gonna be always the user, okay, and pass it over here, whole data, and message sent successfully. See, I have kept it as a response underscore because we are already getting the response which we are passing it. So let's just start writing the service for it, okay. So the service is also an interesting part because we have already written the conversations, okay. So you're gonna have fun writing the service for the message. So go to the conversations, remove like this, and I'll just copy this man over here. I'll just paste it over here and just write send message service, okay. So send message service, just take the data, extract it, and const, just extract everything which you could, like I need message text, I need message type, I need the message method, I need the is important keyword, I need conversation ID, and let me just write it is important. No, it's not. Conversation ID gonna be null. The default value I'm writing over here, sender ID and receiver ID, and the car ID. In this case it should be a null for now because which car I'm talking about, so that is the car ID. So here's some logic which requires, that logic is let conversations, okay, single conversation or singular. If I have the conversation, let's just say I get the conversation in the messages, because without conversation ID I cannot, like, send a message. Actually I have to click on the conversation and then I can send a message. So obviously I'm going to have the conversation ID. But what if the conversation is the first time? What if the conversation is not built yet? You just click on the random user which you never had a conversation to that particular user, so you are new, right? So there is no conversation ID in that case. So I'm just checking that if I have the conversation ID, then I'm going to await, going to say prisma dot conversation, find a unique. Okay, find a unique where the ID is conversation ID and bring that conversation. Okay, if I have, and if I don't have, that case I need to write that. So over here, if I don't have conversation, okay, in that case prisma dot conversation dot find first. Okay, where, okay, just write the where, write the or, and over here write in the form of array sender ID, okay, as a receiver ID, and comma sender ID as a receiver ID, as well as receiver ID as a sender ID. Okay, so I'm making one conversation, okay, by these fields. So again I'm going to write the another condition, okay, if I don't have. So in the same, okay, like in the same this, if I try to find the conversation here, okay, I try to find it first where the sender ID is receiver ID and the sender ID is receiver ID as well as the receiver ID is sender ID. So if I did not like find in this case, I'll again check if I have conversation now. Okay, if you see, I'm already checking, and I'm already checking like if I get the conversation, then I'm like finding the unique conversation ID, and I have that here. And if I still don't have, then I'm checking this conditions, and if I still don't have, I'm going to create one conversation based on the sender and receiver's IDs. I'm going to tell prisma dot conversation dot create data and sender ID as well as the receiver ID, which whatever I am getting. Okay, I think we have added the another, okay, we added extra curly brace. Now just remove everything. Now you just have to create a message and return that const message await prisma dot, because without conversation ID you cannot create messages, that is the case. So data, so it should be message text, message type, it should be message method, it should be conversation ID, should be sender ID, should be car ID, should be is important, should be status, and it should be by default sent. Just return this. Let me just verify message text, message type, message method. Okay, conversation ID, this is the main thing. Conversation should be conversation.id, then sender ID, receiver ID. Okay, we missed the receiver ID, and here's important. Yeah, everything is fine. So consume this. No, it should not be get, it should be send message service. Okay, now consume this in your route from controller. We do not get any error, so luckily over here we should find and let's just create a conversation between two people. So go to the get conversation. So let me just copy, duplicate, rename, get the conversation, get the token over here, hit the route, and over here instead of conversations we just need to add send messages, send post API. Okay, so we require these things. Okay, just add message text. So message text. So the message text is going to be hi, how are you. The another thing which you require is message type and state, as well as if you see validation is missing something, and that is the receiver ID, because whom we are sending the message, that is also important, right? So conversation ID, so that is why the conversation ID is important. Okay, so we are finding it via the receiver ID, so anyways we are going to have that. So let me just write the receiver ID, because sender ID is already a user that we are sending. So this optional, it's not optional, receiver ID is must. Okay, because let me just show you, sender ID is already getting made up by a user ID, but receiver ID is not, right? So now it should show us that. So message type, let me just go to the validation. Okay, message type is let's just say sent. Message method is text. Now hit the API. Okay, receiver ID, go to the database. Okay, so there is one change that I have done, and that is the spelling of receiver. So it was receiver CE, then I removed that, and because of this I was facing one issue. In the schema I have the correct spelling for receiver, and in my validation it was not correct, as well as in my service it wasn't correct. After C I had the E, so because of that I was facing one issue regarding, because it was not filling inside the database table. So now when I hit this, now I can see that message sent successfully. Now when I hit the API for the getting the conversation, that you can see that I am getting the conversation in this form. So this is the conversation I am getting. So now you will realize that I have sent message 3 to 4 times. Why it is bringing only one conversation? So if you remember, what we have written is that two users can only have one conversation, and I am only fetching the message for the last sent message. So if you see, if I send the message hi, how are you, okay, in 4 exclamation marks, so it should give me the latest message. If you see this one, so let's just say I go to the database and I bring, I think I am this user, so let's just copy the John Doe and go to the send message. Now let's just change the receiver. So if I change the receiver, so I should get 2 conversations. Okay, over here I got the 2 conversations, if you see. So this is how you can make the conversation API. And tomorrow, I think after this particular video, I'll do one thing. I'll implement the socket.io for real-time chatting. Okay, so once we send a message to the other person, the message will reflect immediately into the other person's phone mobile. In this case, that user will only receive if he hit the API. So in order to work at real time, we need to build a system which is a socket.io. There are multiple things like WebSocket, and you can use other third party APIs and packages. So this is how we can implement the real time. I'm going to use the socket.io, and for the payments. Okay, I'll just try to use some online gateway. So this way we can implement these two things, as well as in the backend we need to finish up some of the things, like the email is not OTP based, so we need to add the node mailer in that, and OTP hashing basically, and OTP generator. And we also need to make the API for the forget password in the auth flow. There are many minor changes we need to make in the backend, and I'm going to make that in the coming videos. So there will be 1 or 2 videos left for the backend part. So till then, bye bye, stay happy, stay safe, and just follow me on the GitHub. And you have any query, just mail me. And yeah, bye bye.